Will the Senators or the Canadiens take another step this season? Are the Maple Leafs better or worse without Mitch Marner? And will the Florida Panthers withstand all these injuries? This is our preview and predictions video of the Atlantic Division. Hit the subscribe button down below, and let's get right into it with our 8, 7, and 6 teams.
Number 8, I have the Buffalo Sabres. I think there's no real explanation there of why I have these guys at number 8. Number 7, I'm going to go with the Boston Bruins. I think they're on their come down. And number 6, I went with the Detroit Red Wings.
Number 8, I went with the Detroit Red Wings. Number 7, I went with the Boston Bruins. And number 6, I went with the Buffalo Sabres. So
Here's
the same
the thing.
3 teams.
Yeah, before we get into it, I feel like the bottom 3, if terms of predictions wise, it makes sense to have these guys because the top 5 are still very, very good. But that doesn't mean that like this bottom 3 is like gonna be like bottom of the NHL. Clearly, I think the Red Wings might have a chance if like John Gibson somehow returns to his prime and stays healthy. They'll have their fix of goaltending, and the Red offense is really good. Boston, you never know when Boston's really going to be bad. Boston sports in general. But the Bruins, in this case, did take a step back last year, but there was a lot of drama heading into that year. If you get Swayman back to form, then you could see the Bruins come back a little bit. And if you could get Elias Lindholm, playing like a proper center or like a top 6 center and doesn't have to be the 1C, they could survive because they survived without Bergeron before. But when I'm looking at it right now, the Sabres at number 8 for me, I just don't know when it's ever going to happen. And right now, with how tough the division is, I don't see it happening this year either.
Yeah, the Sabres I have at 6. The reason, this whole 8, 7, 6 was tough for me to go, and the top 5 is still it was very tough for me to go. Number 8 for me, I went with the Detroit Red Wings. I hate their defense. I'm gonna straight out say it. Ben Sherratt and Mo Seider. Mo Seider's really good, so he's out of the equation for me in this. The rest of them, I'm like, damn. Justin Hall, Eric Gustafsson, Albert Johansson. Now, maybe some of these guys I might not know too well, but I know who a good defenseman is, and I don't see one here outside of Mo Seider. I think it's not really good. That's number 1. Number 2, goaltending. Yeah, we'll see what type of John Gibson's gonna come. Is he gonna be healthy? Is he not? This is his first time away from Anaheim. And then, yes, he has Cam Talbot. Cam Talbot, we know, is an up and down goalie. He wasn't too bad for them last year. And again, they're going to be, them and the Sabres are always in conversation. Are they going to finally take a jump? But then they always falter off at some point during the year. Forward-wise, I like Dylan Larkin. I like Lucas Raymond. I like Alex DeBrincat. As a whole, offense, I feel like they're still going to be a fun team to watch. The problem now is Todd McLellan is their head coach. He's not a primed offensive guy like whoever it was before. I think with Jeff Blashill, whoever it was. So if you're gonna try to play defensive hockey with this, then they're in trouble, in my opinion.
But here's where it can work for the Red Wings is when you see Todd McLellan instill some sort of defense into these guys, but allow them to be free offensively. So don't let them control their offensive game. Let guys like Larkin, DeBrincat, Lucas Raymond do their thing, but I'll just have instill a little bit of a defensive responsibility in them where where it doesn't limit their offensive game. If they could find a way to do that or find other players that could step up defensively for them and allow their best offensive players to be their best offense players, you can see something happen. But the thing is, the biggest thing with Detroit is not obviously, yeah, you have roster concerns defensively and goaltending wise, but just from what I've been seeing the last 3 years, it's just up and down hockey for them. It's just simple as this. They have hot runs and they have cold runs. When they're hot, they're hot. They go on insane runs and make a case to make the playoffs. But when they're cold, that's how they kind of eliminate themselves, in my opinion. And that's their biggest issue, is that consistency.
8 was harsh because my 7 team is Boston Bruins. I really wanted to put this team last. Because one, they got a new head coach and now Marco Sturm. He was good in the AHL. I know the Canucks were in on him as well. They moved up obviously Jim Montgomery last year. We know Jim Montgomery's a good coach, but obviously his time ran out there, especially last year. Because last year we thought the additions of Zadorov and Lindholm, especially Lindholm, would make them better because they didn't have the center depth like they did in the previous year. And I thought Lindholm was going to be an upgrade. He was not good. Zadorov wasn't great for them either. Lindholm is still their 1C according to Daily Faceoff here. But the reason why I gave him the nod higher is because they have Jeremy Swayman coming in from the beginning of the year. That's number 1. 2, they still have David Pastrnak. He's going to be a sniper. He's going to be he's going to be their best player, and he has to be their best player, obviously. In terms of that, a horrible add-in Tanner Jeannot in terms of contract-wise, the long-term thing they gave him. Defensively, I think they'll still be fine. because like again, you have Charlie McAvoy, you have Hampus Lindholm. Like I don't hate necessarily their defense either, but again, aging, right? Overall, like I see it is their time as a team to finally have that rebuild, like what Detroit went through for a couple of years ago, right? Once the Datsuk, Zetterberg, Lidstrom era, everything ended. Detroit hasn't fully recovered from that, but we've seen signs. Obviously, we know what Buffalo's trying to do there, but like, yeah, I think Boston's in that era right now. And then, I won't be surprised if they finish last place. I won't be surprised if they finish sixth place either.
The only way I could see the Bruins get better is like if the Lindholm and Zadorov signings were just like the first year was just an adjustment period, because this is the first time both of them are really all the way in the. Well, I mean, Zadorov was in the East before, but like Zadorov and especially Lindholm, being in Calgary, and obviously basically his whole entire career.
Well, Lindholm was in Carolina too, but
so I'm just saying like it was a big move.
It's a new coach.
It's a big move. 1, 2, it's a new coach, so it could be a fresh start. There's a possibility that Lindholm and Zadorov bounce back, and if that happens, then you could see this team climb the standings for sure. As long as Swayman returns to form, and like you said, defensively, it's still a fairly solid roster with Lindholm and McAvoy and Zadorov, right? So like that's enough for me to say that like they could make a playoff push. It just again where's this offense going to come from and who's going to be helping Pasternak. That's where you're going to need Elias Lindholm to step up his offensive game and like have Pavel Zacha be like that Pavel Zacha where Patrice Bergeron replacement somehow that 1 year where Boston
a lot to ask. I'm gonna say that,
but he did it 1 year. But I'm not saying be that guy again. But like find some sort of like be halfway to that and have more from Elias Lindholm. That is very possible. But for that reason, like I put him at 7, right, as well. Or no, I put him at 6. I put Detroit at 7.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I have him at 6 and missing out of the playoffs. Detroit being 7, I already explained that. Buffalo being 8, I already explained that. So I'm just gonna let you finish off the bottom 3.
Okay, so for me, the Buffalo Sabres are 6. They always do this every year where they're gonna have like some type of stretch that they're gonna make a push. And the reason why I have them at 6 isn't necessarily I think they're gonna challenge for the top 5. It's because they always do a late push that will put them up to 6 in general, right? So that's the main reason why. Listen, they moved on from JJ Peterka. We know what the thing with Buffalo is. You move on from them, high chance you're going to be winning. You're going to be a much better player and all that. We saw a little bit of that last year with Dylan Cousins when they swapped him for Josh Norris. Dylan Cousins was pretty decent for Ottawa, in my opinion, for that little stretch. We'll see what happens this upcoming year. We know what happened with Sam Reinhart. We know what happened with Jack Eichel. Both are cup winners. Both are really good two-way players in better environments as a team overall. So I don't disagree with you that, oh yeah, they're going to be 8th place. I really don't. I'm just saying that... Again, the talent, like defensively, they brought back Bowen Byram. Again, we don't know if that's for a trade purpose because a lot of this RFA or drama has been going on, not even just in the NHL, but the NBA as well, if you guys follow the NBA. That in sense. But yeah, Rasmus Dahlin, who's like a top 10 defenseman in the NHL, right? Out of the 3 teams, the only guy that might be you can consider better than Dahlin is probably Charlie McAvoy. Out of the 3 teams, the bottom 3 that we're talking about here, right? I don't think you necessarily disagree with that.
That like he's the best.
Like he's arguably the best or second best. Only person you could challenge him is probably Charlie McAvoy. Out of the best defensemen, out of the bottom 3 teams.
Yeah, that's McAvoy. Yeah.
So Bowen Byram, I know he had a down year, but again, hopefully he does better. We know Owen Power was once upon a time a first overall pick for them as well, so I think he should be better as well this year. But then offensively, the talent, like Josh Norris, Zach Benson, Tage Thompson. I'm hoping that's a step forward. Tage Thompson should be in the Team USA this year. All right, it's so stupid that he wasn't last year, and we're not. I'm a Canadian saying that, by the way, which is good. Thank you for not picking him. That's for sure. But like even like the talent around Alex Tuck, he's a solid top middle 6 type of guy. You acquired another young guy in Josh Doan from Utah in the JJ Peterka deal. Their biggest obviously flaw is the goaltending because right now Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is day to day, and you bring in Georgiev. We know how he was in Colorado, not great. And then obviously Alex Lyon right now, I guess, I don't know what the order is for them, but we know their number 1 goalie should be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. But yeah, like I have him there because I feel like on paper, they have more talent on paper. The question is, can they perform it?
That's the question, and that's why I have him at 8 because it's more potential talent. It's not more talent, it's more potential. That's what you're looking at right now. And that's what you have. Whereas Boston has some sort of confirmed talent, in my opinion.
Yeah, like they have the best player by far.
Exactly. And then Same with Detroit. They have more like of the talent that we have actually seen come to fruition. Over here, we just see Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson at the moment.
Alex Tuch as well.
And then obviously Alex Tuch, but like not to the level of Pasternak and McAvoy.
I mean, like Detroit has the best coach, right? So that will say a lot.
But we'll see. There's a lot of factors. But let's move on to our number 4 and 5 team. But before we do, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. We are back with the hockey content. NHL season starting up very soon. We're going to be wrapping up our division predictions with the Atlantic Division today and very soon the Metropolitan. And after that, we're going to be wrapping up all our predictions with our playoff predictions, cup winners, and our award winners. So make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. And if you're enjoying this video, hit the like button. And the comment for this video is, again, simple as the other division videos. Who do you have winning the Atlantic Division, and what are your standings for the Atlantic Division? So comment that down below. We would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Let's move on. Number 5, I have the Montreal Canadiens. And at number 4, I have the Florida Panthers.
Okay. So you did go bold. I kind of guessed slightly on bold. It was tough. I don't know, because like there's question marks everywhere. In the top 5, Florida, I know you're not gonna have them 4 if Barkov was healthy. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
But Barkov is out for the year,
and
Tkachuk is out for half the year. I considered it heavily, but I'll get to where my standings are. Number 5, I agree with you. I have the Montreal Canadiens. Number 4, I have the Ottawa Senators. For me, I mean, off the top of my head, these two teams are still potentially in the playoffs again, like how they were last year. Montreal, for me, the second line center and health overall is the biggest question mark. Are they able to take a step forward this year? 100% I believe it. Nick Suzuki's a stud. He should be in conversation for Team Canada next year. Lane Hudson has something to prove, which is weird to say because he was the Calder Trophy winner last year. But not being selected for Team USA camp is shocking. Not being, and to the point where his dad's like, hey, he's probably Canadian, he could represent Canada. We're like, bring him on, right?
Please.
But obviously he obviously backtracked that. He's like, and he knows that, and we know that's not the final roster. But I'm just saying, number 2, he was left off the TSN top 50 list apparently, which is also nuts. Now I know what's his name. Jamie McClellan said he had him on his personal one, but on the collective consensus, he was left off of it. So for whatever reason, he has something to prove. The addition of Noah Dobson, love it. He's day to day at the moment. So putting him 5th because of that is pretty weird. But the reason why I have him down here, I expect Sam Montembeault to still be fine. It's just like, is Kirby Duck going to be healthy? Is Alec Newk going to be healthy? What type of Patrick Laine are we getting? They have the bigger question marks in terms of players right now at the moment. We know Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Juraj Slafkovsky are going to be a good line or stud. Probably going to be an underrated line in the NHL, in my personal opinion. I don't know how you feel about that. But overall, if they fix that second line center somehow during the year, this team is jumping to top 3 for me.
Here's the reason why I have Montreal, I guess, lower than the rest. Obviously, like Toronto's been established, Florida's been established, Tampa Bay's established. So you're looking at the real comparison being the Ottawa Senators. And this is where they differ a little bit for me. Last year was the jump the Canadiens took. Nobody expected Canadiens
to take that jump.
Or that big of a jump, right? If it is a little bit of a jump, maybe like outside looking in of a playoff spot, but they were literally, they held that second wildcard spot for most of the playoff race last year. Whereas the Ottawa Senators have kind of been in that conversation. The question mark for them is when they could take that jump and be that playoff team.
Yeah, like Montreal.
So like Ottawa was there for the last few years. Last year is when we saw them take the jump into the playoffs, whereas Montreal, it just took that one big jump.
Yeah.
So that question mark comes in, is it a fluke, right? Are these young players going to be as good this year, or are they going to have some growing pains, right? The big one being Demidov, who came in and actually lit it up. I don't expect Ivan Demidov to be that good for the whole entire season. And obviously, there's going to be a little bit of pressure because if Demidov is that good, then this team, is a bona fide playoff spot. Same with Nick Suzuki. Well, he's probably more the established one.
Yeah.
But then again, he's been good. But
he's been great last year.
But he was great last year. But he's been good since like the COVID, like in between when they were bad. So is he going to be that elite guy again? I do have a slight question mark just because he hasn't done it year after year, where he's done it I only think 2 seasons of his career so far. So those are the question marks that I have. Is Sam Montembeault going to be that good still? I do have confidence in that. Again, adding a guy like Noah Dobson to take a little bit of pressure off of Lane Hudson being that Calder or the best defenseman of an NHL team is going to be huge for him. I don't know if David Reinbacher is going to crack the roster
He's
or not.
injured to start the year.
So he's definitely not cracking the roster. Like, when you're seeing it like mid-season or near the end of the year and see how he adjusts. So then again, we just got to see this team grow. And if this team grows and they're able to pull off something while they're facing their ups and downs, because that's what's going to happen because these guys are so young, then yeah, we're fully confident that these guys are taking that next step and will make the playoffs. But right now, are we still looking at a year away? We're probably looking at a year or two away from like pure Stanley Cup contenders and playoff locks. But right now, when you're looking at it, I do see them making the playoffs, but the ability to take the next step and like, be into a top 3 division team, that's still the question mark for me.
That's the question mark they're going to fulfill, and I'll get to it when I get to my top 3. Montreal took the step that Buffalo and Detroit both dream of doing. They overtook them. Last few years, we thought, it's Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit. Who's going to be taking the jump? Those guys did not. Clearly, they're still in our bottom.
Ottawa did, but...
No, I mean, I meant Buffalo and Detroit did not. Montreal did that last year. Now, and to your point, I agree with everything you said. That's the reason why I have them there. I want to see it this year. In the first 2 months of the season, I see them being good. For the most part, I'm like, okay, yeah, this team will definitely finish higher. It's just, again, this division is very tough to assess this year, especially. And to your Nick Suzuki point, I think he's going to be great.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, but it's still a question mark just because he hasn't done it in back-to-back years, in my opinion, yeah. But when I'm looking at it, number 14, Florida Panthers, I'm going to get this out of the way. It's just genuinely purely based on injuries, right? When I'm looking at the Florida Panthers, you're going to need a lot of players to step up. You're going to need Sam Bennett to be a 1C. You're going to need, obviously, Marchand to get out of that third line and produce more. Same with Reinhart. When you have Kachuk missing half the year and Barkov missing the whole entire year, I don't know if he will be back for playoff time or mid-playoff time. Well, we'll see about that, how his rehab and recovery goes. Hopefully it does go quick and properly. And you're looking at Bobrovsky to be playoff Bobrovsky. So you're looking at, and then Seth Jones be the same guy from last year, who I think could play himself into a USA roster spot, but we'll see how his performance lines up. So this is just purely based on injury. They're just looking at survival mode for the first half of the year. And once they get Kachuk back, you can start seeing them make a push to a top 3. But right now, I'm just looking at the Florida Panthers, and they're just going to be like, I'm just looking for them to get by, and then for them, because they're so good, their get by is literally be a number 4 team or a wild card team, which is still hella impressive when you have your 2 best forwards missing a very long time of the season, like a good bulk of the season, and also one missing the whole entire season.
The rumor is the minute Barkov went down, Sidney Crosby, and he's also linked to Montreal. Right, because we'll find out as the season goes on what Barkov's status is going to be. Because can they just dump his whole determine he's going to be not healthy, dump his salary for the year on LTIR or whatever, because it's not going to count for the playoffs if he's not going to play for the playoffs. Obviously, we'll talk about Sidney Crosby more when we talk about the Metropolitan Division, but that's a name to look out for because Florida is a team that's aggressive usually, right? So we'll see what I end up doing. That's the reason why I gave him a little bit of leeway there. But number 4 for me, I went with the Ottawa Senators. I do think they're going to take another jump this year. A little bit more established in Montreal, like to your point, right? Florida wasn't the team I fully considered to drop out of the top 3. It was a different team. And then Ottawa was the team I was considering to put into the top 3. But overall, I just want to see one more year of this being a consistent thing. And if that's possible, I'm putting them in the top 3 come next year, most likely. The addition of Jordan Spence, I really like on the defensive side of the puck. I like Linus Ullmark as a goalie. Hopefully, he can stay a little bit more healthy this year as well. But overall, them adding Dylan Cousins, now he's going to be there from the get-go, right? Like, these guys tasted playoff experience similar to Montreal. These guys made up noise against Toronto as well, right? So, they got the experience. They got this stuff out of the way. As long as they're healthy, this team should be in consideration for the top 3.
All right, our top 3 now. Number 3, I got the Toronto Maple Leafs. And number 2, I got the Ottawa Senators. And at number 1, I went with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Number 3, Toronto Maple Leafs. Number 2, Florida Panthers. Number 1, Tampa Bay Lightning. I'll start off with number 1. Let's just get number 1 out of the way. They're on paper because of all the injuries. They're the best team in the NHL, in the not NHL, and the Atlantic Division solely because they have the least amount of question marks in my opinion. They probably have the best top 5 line in hockey in the NHL as well. They have Andrei Vasilevsky in net. Are they going to be a cup contender? We'll find out as it goes on. But this team has the least amount of question marks, which is why I think you also put them at number 1. But I'll let you explain that. But
here's the reason. They're an established team where Montreal and Ottawa aren't. They didn't lose a big piece over the summer like how Toronto did. And right now, at the moment, they are healthy. And their main players are healthy. And on top of that, they were able to add Yanni Gord back to their team last year, which was obviously a big addition. And then having Anthony Cirelli and Brandon Hagel, and then obviously the top line.
Their top two lines are set.
Their top two lines are like one of the best in hockey, like literally. And we saw Cirelli and Hagel be effective in the Four Nations. Obviously, maybe they got a little bit of leeway of getting picked with John Cooper being the coach, which is obviously 100% true. But they did something there. And then them as a duo are able to do something. And like the point, Kucherov and Gensel.
How many lines are really better than them?
I don't think there's
probably
many.
Vegas, if you want to say it, with Barbashev.
Like you have
Marner.
two guys you have a guy that's a bona fide 100-point getter. You have a bona fide 40-goal scorer, and you have another guy that's bona fide 85 points plus, and Braden Point.
Yeah.
So like, what really does get better? And he could hit 100 points if he's like fully on his game too. You still have Hedman in the back end, and like you said, you still have Vasilevsky. So when I'm looking at it, the only question mark is a little bit of defensive depth. But we'll see if some players step up. But overall, like you said, the least amount of question marks, and that's why I have them at number one.
So we talked about Florida. I'll just go with Florida right now at number two. I really considered it was hard to assess. You're not just losing a defensive forward and your best player and your leader in Alexander Barkov. You're also losing a point per game player. How are you going to replace him is the question mark. Sam Bennett has now jumped into according to Daily Faceoff, line one, center. Sam Bennett's value comes in the playoffs. And even then, he didn't really hit a point per game, as good as he was. I think it was like 22 points in 23 games or whatever it was, right? In the regular season, he's not even close really to that. So replacing, if Barkov had played 60 games, he was getting 71 points. If he played 70 games, he was at 81 points, right? So that's where his stats were when I looked at it. You're going to miss that. This is where Sam Reinhart's going to obviously step up heavily when it comes to the Selke consideration as well as for the team. But this team, man, like I understand 2 straight cup runs. Yes, are they going to win the Stanley Cup without Barkov? I do not believe so. That's a different story for a different day. But when it comes to like the team, how they're built, they still have Paul Maurice as their coach. Yes, Bobrovsky is questionable in the regular season sometimes, but he's still your goalie. Defensively, this is where the reason why I have him there. Because Gustav Forsling is probably arguably a top 3 defensive defenseman in the NHL. I don't think you'll disagree with that at the moment, right? Only people you could say is Chris Tanev, and the other person you could say is Jacob Slavin from Carolina.
Yeah. Aaron
Ekblad signed a team-friendly deal for a reason. He's solid, right? Niko Mikkola, good. Seth Jones, you added. People forgot how good Seth Jones was. Like we said last year, he proved why if he's in a winning situation, there's a reason why he went top 4 in the NHL draft whenever he did get drafted, right? That's the main reason why. And this team is always, if you want to be a better player, you go to this team. And if you can't do good with this team, then you're out of the league, right? Go look at guys like OEL. Go look at guys like Nate Schmidt. Let's see what Jeff Petrie does now with these guys here as well. So overall, yeah, if they're able to be 500 or better when Tkachuk comes back, this team will go take a surge, in my opinion. That's why I have them at second place, because they're still that good. They have a culture set. They have a solid roster that they're gonna be in playoff consideration no matter what.
If you guys want a more emphasis on Florida and why they're so good, go check out our Florida or how one trade turned Florida Panthers into a cup contender, which will be linked at the end of the video, along with our other division prediction as well. But when I'm looking at like this team, yeah, is very good. It just depends how well can they survive. That's the only question.
Yeah.
Right. That's the big question mark. And if that survival mode is like 5th or 6th place in the division, then yeah, Tkachuk comes back, you take him to 4. If that survival mode, they're already in the 4th spot, then I could see them jump up to 2. But for me, I'm explaining my number 2 in Ottawa Senators. The big differentiation I have is the Ottawa Senators and the Montreal Canadiens. That's the 2 teams I want to compare, because those are 2 teams that, took the step last year. The Ottawa Senators were in that conversation. We're in that 5, 6, 7 spot with the Detroit Red Wings and the Buffalo Sabres those many years. And we were disappointed that they didn't take those jumps, a couple of years ago or the year before. And here's the reason why they didn't take those jumps. Because when they got the initial jump to get in that conversation out of being dead last in the NHL for those many years and rebuilding, you saw promise, but then you also saw the growing pains those 2 years where they were like, oh, they could make the playoffs, oh, they didn't. So that's where I see Montreal struggling. That's where you're going to see some more issues come up in Montreal this year, whereas Ottawa's done that. The Ottawa's been through that. They took that next step, and with a team losing quite possibly the best playmaking winger in the NHL, and another team losing the best two-way player for a whole entire year and their best offensive player for half the year, there's an opportunity for these guys to take that jump. There's, like, at the end of the day, I know it's a tough question, but who do you have more guaranteed in the playoff spot, Ottawa or Montreal?
At this moment, Ottawa.
Right? So, like, because they've been through all of that, growing pains as a young team, and they were able to take that first step. They took that first step. They were able to take the next step. And I believe that with the situation in the Atlantic Division, I think they take the next step and be a top 3 division team. And as long as they play as good as last year, I think I could see that happening, where I expect a little bit of drop-off from Florida and a little bit of a drop-off from the Toronto Maple Leafs.
This is where I'm looking at the bottom 3 teams, especially Detroit and Buffalo. This is your chance to show that you're a serious team to take a step this year. Because
exactly.
There's a chance that you could hit top 5 because, again, yes, me and you are high in Florida because of their reputation and their culture and all that. But there's a chance that, like, hey, if they have another injury, and knock on wood, they don't get any other injuries for their sake, they could fall off this year, which is also going to be scary because come draft time, if they get a good pick, then they're set for life.
Florida gets Gavin McCarthy.
Yeah, I'm not going to put that into the universe for every other NHL team.
I don't know if they have their first round pick or not, but
that's the other thing there, right? And even with Toronto, we don't know. They're probably one injury away from their main player. And again, knock on wood, nothing happens, that they could take a step up. Like, this is where Buffalo and Detroit especially need to look themselves in the mirror and, hey, Montreal did it last year. Ottawa, they took the right step in the direction. We took the opposite step. We need to show that why we, especially look at a Buffalo to show your fan base, like, hey, we got to get this done. But let's go to number 3. We both have the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I feel like it's for the exact same reasons. How big of a loss is going to be Mitch Marner? And we're talking regular season, because playoffs, okay, that's a whole different story and that's a whole different argument.
It's gonna be a loss, man.
I heavily did consider this team to drop to 4 or 5.
It's fair. That is fair. But when you're looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs, losing a guy that's gonna quite possibly give you 100 points is very tough.
Yeah.
Right. And he's able to give you some two-way ability and be able to fit under Craig Berube. Right, we're putting playoffs aside. This is literally division prediction, regular season prediction. Say what you ever want about Mitch Marner in the playoffs. I'm not going to defend him. That is fair, whatever you want to say about him. But in the regular season, this guy's a stud. It's just simple as that. And he's one of the best players, or one of the best forwards in the league. That just simply put. Austin Matthews, William Nylander have gone a little bit more pressure, where 1, they got to be more available, and 2, be able to produce. You got to see 60-goal Matthews again. Right. Same goes with John Tavares. I know he's up there in age. They did bring him back, so he's got to step up, be that 2C, and lead his own line. You got to see Chris Tanev and OEL, even with their age catching up to him, be those guys still, and be those good defensemen that they have been the last couple of years. And obviously Chris Tanev be that good, sick defenseman his whole entire career. And you also got to see a newly paid Anthony Stolarz stay in the net, because when he was healthy originally, this guy was in the Vezina conversation, and it was rightfully so. And along with Joseph Woll,
who's out for personal leave at the moment, so we got to see.
So obviously, when you're looking at it, you're one injury away from goaltender to my, that could possibly ruin you. But we're hoping that doesn't happen. And if Woll, well, I'm hoping no one gets injured. I'm hoping nobody gets injured. But when you're looking at it, once they get Joseph Woll back and he's able to deal with whatever he's dealing with, pair him up with Anthony Stolarz, give him back-to-back games, have those guys healthy into the playoffs. It's going to be, or more so keep Stolarz healthy in the playoffs. This team's a better goalie when Anthony Stolarz is in. I'm not saying Joseph Woll is a bad goalie and has done terrible for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but Anthony Stolarz is a better goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We saw in the playoffs where once he went down with that injury when Sam Bennett hit him in the head, the Toronto Maple Leafs just fell apart. And that was one of the big reasons why the series got away from him. So a lot of pressure is on these players to produce, basically. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Outside of Elias Pettersson, does Austin Matthews have the most pressure in the NHL on the top of your head?
Well, yes, in terms of 1, losing a line mate, 2, being in the Toronto media and Canadian team and the biggest market.
But I'm just saying strictly performance-wise too.
Well, yeah, obviously, because when you're looking at the not even performance-wise, just being healthy as well, because he hasn't really been that either.
Austin Matthews has shown he's a good two-way centerman in the NHL, right? The knock on him was similar to Elias Pettersson, that he wasn't producing in the playoffs. Elias Pettersson, they're saying he's a really good defensive guy, but where's the point production? You need that definitely for Austin Matthews, because that's where the pressure comes from. Because listen, Matthew Knies is going to take a step forward this year. I know that for a fact. I think he's a talented player, but he hasn't come to the same level of production as Mitch Marner has. To replace Mitch Marner, you brought in Nick Roy, who was in Vegas before, Dakota Joshua, who was obviously on the Canucks, and he had a tough year last year, especially battling the cancer diagnosis he had, and then you bring in Matias Maccelli. Combination-wise, sure, they might add up to the points, but you still need that player that could provide you.
They're not adding up to the points.
But I'm just saying. So, these guys are good players. These guys are good bottom 6 players.
Yeah,
we'll see how
that's what
they're producing. But if you're going to talk about offensively, if one of Matthews or Nylander is out for whatever reason, this team is probably going to 5th or even lower, in my personal opinion. The reason why I have them in 3rd, I just need to see it to believe it. Yes, I know I went bold so far with some of my predictions with Minnesota being 8-7-6, and I know Kaprizov just got paid as of this recording. I went bold with Calgary finishing last in the Pacific. I went bold somewhat with Detroit finishing last in this division outside instead of Buffalo or someone. But Craig Berube as a coach is a really good coach. You have the goaltending there at the moment, and I'm a positive guy. I'm banking on health as much as we're Vancouver fans that do not like Toronto. But we got to put that to the side. And then listen. Easton Cohen is supposed to be the new Matthew Knies for these guys. Let's see how much of that is actually the case. Because I heard a lot of good things about him during this preseason, and he is right now slotted in the 4th line. Scott Law needs to take a step forward. He was not good for them when he got traded to there last year, as much as people expected him to be. But I do bank on Austin Matthews to be that elite goal scorer and be the good team under them. And William Nylander to help John Tavares in that 2nd line at the moment. And again, worst comes to worst, if you need to combo or load up the line, you can do that potentially as well. But this team, at the end of the day, this team is still talented. I'm going to give them 1 year of leeway to see how much truly is Mitch Marner going to be a full loss. But at the moment, we know it's going to be a massive loss, especially come regular season time.
I mean, this is the season where you need Austin Matthews to genuinely hit 100 points. When I'm looking at this team, and obviously the star power goes to Edmonton with McDavid and Draisaitl, right? But you're looking at teams where your top end players are facing a little bit of pressure, but it's weird to say that Toronto probably has a better defenseman.
Yeah.
Toronto definitely has a better goaltender. So you're looking at a team that just needs to show up in the playoff time, because their star players need to show up in the playoff time.
Edmonton's the flip, right?
Yeah. So if that happens, you could see a finals run for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, they're in a little bit of a tougher division to get out of, and then they should be able to win the ECF, in my opinion, against any Metropolitan Division team. As long as their players are playing properly in the playoffs.
I mean, they're the team that gave Florida the toughest push last year.
So exactly. When I'm looking at it, again, take away the star power. That goes to the Edmonton Oilers, but everything else, the Toronto Maple Leafs has better.
Morgan Rielly was the biggest question mark last year. He did get better when you brought in Brandon Carlo, who performed well from this year. But yes, is it safe to say Morgan Rielly is kind of getting in the washed category? You could say that slightly. Age is catching up to him. He hasn't been the Morgan Rielly from the earlier Toronto days. So that's the one name we have to monitor, because if he does take a step forward again, bounce back this year, then he's gonna be pretty good. Then this team should be pretty good. If not, then there's question marks, because yes, the cap went up because Kaprizov has now set the thing at $17 million per year, and certain players like Matthews, for example, $13 million could be cheap if he performs well. You want to see Morgan Rielly have a cheap $7 million at his current status at the moment as well.
So when you're looking at it, my division standings go from Buffalo at number 8, Red Wings 7, Boston 6, Montreal 5, Florida 4. Number 3 with the Maple Leafs, 2 Senators, and number 1 is the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Number 8 for me was Detroit Red Wings, 7 Boston Bruins, 6 Buffalo Sabres, 5 Montreal Canadiens, 4 Ottawa Senators, 3 Toronto Maple Leafs, 2 Florida Panthers, number 1 Tampa Bay Lightning.
So that wraps up our Atlantic division, a very tough Atlantic division. So if you guys want to check out our Central Division prediction, they'll be popping up as well. If you guys also want to check out that Florida video, like I mentioned before, those 2 videos will be popping up. So whatever one you guys are interested, check that out. The Florida video is one I personally recommend to watch out for our channel as well. But if you're looking for a division prediction, go to the Central Division and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying these videos. We're going to be dropping our NHL content soon. We're not going to be going away for 2 months like we did, but the NHL season is right around the corner. We're hyped. We know you guys are hyped. So hit that subscribe button. We're here to stay, and we'll catch you guys in there, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.